Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is JustSimy from Pixelversity.com and I'm here to tell you guys about how to create your own starting soon screen. Creating a starting soon screen is one of the most easiest things you can do before you start making your own live streams. So to start off, what I do is I open up a file by 1920 by 1080 and I start working on that canvas. Now I use a really strange kind of way because I want my text to be and feel different. I want it to feel special. So one of the major things that I do is that I start off by using Photoshop. So how do I do this? I select a certain text. I select a text tool and I just start to type, starting soon, because that is basically the only message that I have. For that, I'm using a couple of methods. I type my own text, and I select that, put it somewhere on the screen, and that's about everything that I'm doing. For this one, I'm using my favorite font, so that's what will be included into this video as well. Now, one of the major things I noticed with my font is that there's not enough spacing. The spacing is way incorrect. So what I have to do is I have to adjust that. And so I change that to what my size of my font is, and then just make sure that it's the exact same for the text. After that, I write down welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream is basically a way to say welcome before you even start. Saying welcome can make people feel like they are there to enjoy. In this example, I do look into working with different type of fonts in order to make it stand out. But as soon as I realized I just wanted it to be something very easy, very simple, very clean and tiny. I don't want that text, the welcome to the stream text, to be the overpowering one here in this document. So the starting soon screen is one of the most important parts of this whole thing. One of the major things I then do is I go into File and I'm going to save that as a PNG. So it's just black text. That's everything it is. As I export it as a PNG and I just leave everything on. Except transparency, which is really important to keep on because if you turn transparency off, you're going to be seeing a white screen underneath it, and that's not what you want because remember, you're going to import this into a video file, which is going to have a black screen in the end anyways. So I save it as 72 and I click on typing the name and saying soon. Now, as I'm working on it, I decided, okay, I have my black version of it, but what if I have something crazier? So for this, I'm going into all of my types of colors that I have of gradients, and I actually select the one that I've made for myself. These are available in my shop if you're interested in getting any of these, and yeah, that's where you can basically find them if you're interested in any of these colors that I've made previous, so you can just simply select them and use them. So in my example, I am changing that to a different color eventually, and even change the color of my text to something else as well. Again, I go to export and save that as a PNG. Now, after this is done, what I do is I go into Premiere Pro, our other program that we're going to use in this example. So for this, I'm starting off a sequence, and I do this by going into File, New, and start a project, and then start a sequence. in this sequence, one of the main things I have is, I call it starting soon, as that's the title of our document. I've created a background, which is kind of a little over the top. And the reason for doing that is basically to show you that even though this one is extremely over the top, you can basically design anything you like in terms of a starting soon screen. Now, one of the major things I'll point out is that a starting soon screen has to be maybe only 10 seconds or even shorter. And the reason for that is because we have the usage of using Photoshop, not Photoshop, I'm really getting on. Of using OBS, and with OBS, if you have like a short little screen, it's easier to use that. So in this case, I'm using my background that I've made in Photoshop, my overlay that I've made in Photoshop as well. I did record this off screen, but it's basically the exact same, just use 2 brushes and combine that to 2. And it's funny because I originally used the same type of coloring that I used for my text, but as you can see, it turned into red and blue, which is kind of a joke aside, because I'm technically a Dutch person, so it's kind of like my kind of family thing. So in the end, that's kind of where I leave it at. I have 3 layers: text, a background, and a simple little effect. And I could be like, okay, so this is it. This is how I'm gonna leave it. And as soon as it's out, that's where I'm gonna save it, you know, to keep it simple and easy. But I wanted to go a little further, and that's what I did. So in my file, I extend the text to make it a little longer, and then I go into something that I have already preloaded in. And as I mentioned in my text that I've written for this video in the description, I'm using videolance. Now, videolance, this is something you don't actually have to do. This is something that you can do if you want to. These are effects that are already pre-made that you only have to copy and paste on your design. Now, I'm using a commercial license for this because I've been using it for commercial work. So I use it for commercial, as a commercial license. So what these things do, they basically create like a little zoom effect. And going through it, I wanted to create an easy in, because I like to have like a simple easy in effect that just makes the effect stand out. And as a result, I'm using the easy out, easy in, and another easy in. Just very simple effects, just both different in their way that they're behaving. The ease, of course, can be created by hand, but in my case, I'm using it like this. I'll leave a link in the description of this whole course for you to check out these videos. But of course, if you're more interested in how you do it yourself, there will, of course, later on be videos on how to do that. But in this case, I'm just using this to create my simple effect. Now, one of the things that I notice is I don't really think it stands out that well. It's a little bit, it's there, but it's not like really there. So I go into my files, and I'm doing this a little bit off screen because I don't want you guys to exactly see what I'm doing in my files. I have to double screen setup, so that this is a bit like off screen. But what I'm searching for right now is a file that videolancer also has that has the fade in, fade out. Now I'm going into the effects. It's called Motion Pro packages. That's where I've put them all in. But it's not from them. But it does work with it. So it's kind of like a two-way. I'm going into the motion category, and I'm going to let that load in. And I'm like, nope, this is definitely not what I want. So I go in and I close that panel out again, because that's not the effect that I was looking for. I wanted to use flares. Now, flares, I haven't opened that file before. I haven't opened it before, but then we had the older version of Premiere Pro, because right now I'm using the Premiere Pro version that's new. So the files don't load in correctly. There are a bit of a few issues, which actually crashes the recording, which is a bit of a shame. But that's basically what I use. I use this effect and I put it onto the text, and these are just very simple light flares. In my video that I made for my own channel here on Pixelversity to introduce you guys to this video, I use these lens flares as well, because they're so simple to use, and I love how they come across. It's really like, it really makes that video really stand out by just doing that little effect. So that's why I keep it in and let it play. I do delete the sound because I don't really like the sound to be over on my video. I know that I can just simply mute it, but I'm more interested in playing it. Now all there's left to do is export the file. By doing this, you go to File, Export, Media. Then a big pop-up will show up, and I have mine set to 1024, and then match resource, high bit rate, and then I start the encoding. I click on export for that. And as soon as the video is done, all that is showing up is your video is successfully exported. Now, I did not record that little part because it can take about a while for this to export. So I cut that out of the video, but if it went well, you should have a video pop up that says your video is successfully exported. And that's how I make my little videos. This is how I do my little starting soon screens. I hope this video was informative. I hope you learned something from it. And I hope it will inspire you to do more with graphic design, art, or anything else in that matter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep continuing this course while we dive deeper into creating more assets for your own screen, stream, or other. I'll see you guys then.